Ladies and gentlemen, how's it going? Welcome to another action-packed episode of Polymuse, the podcast, the experience, the lifestyle. My name's Ben. This is my cousin, Michael, my co-host. Take it away, Michael. Tell him what we got cooked up for him today.
Today, the song you've all been waiting for.
Love it.
Chop Suey.
Oh.
The top song from our favorite group, System of a Down.
Oh. As always, we are working towards our Desert Island S-tier System of a Down mixtape. We're taking you track by track, song by song, through each and every recording the System of a Down ever made. We're the System of a Down super fans, bringing you on the journey with us. We've been building up for this one for a while. This is Chop Suey, the first System of a Down song I ever heard. Easily the first one.
Originally going to be called Self-Righteous Suicide, or Suicide, which can still be heard at the beginning when Serge says, "Roll Suicide." It was changed for the label. Chop Suey both chops the word suicide in half and plays with mixing up controversy into some nonsense radio-friendly title. It was one of 165 songs, temporarily pulled from radio stations post 9/11. It was one of the worst performing singles due to being pulled.
Yeah, you pretty much have to pull all the System of a Down stuff. Chop Suey isn't one of the nonsense ones. It's not specifically about, I can see aerials in the sky, but they're banning any sky, or as we said in the other episodes, it's any like take you on a trip, take you in the sky reference that got banned at the time. So I don't even understand how Chop Suey got thrown into the stew, as it were.
Yeah, well, we ran through the list previously, and there were some interesting choices on there. Sometimes just a title, a keyword, that really got them pulled. But Chop Suey did it did top out in the U.S. charts at number 76, U.S. Alt chart at number 7, U.S. Main Rock at number 12. So it wasn't ever number 1.
That is so low
on any of those charts.
It's still on the radio every single day, though. So for long-running chart, it's not in the top 10, but obviously a classic, obviously a staple of radio, even though it got hit hard by the 9/11 ban train.
Yeah. It was still nominated as well at several award shows, MTV Video Music Awards, and we'll get to the music video in a minute, for Best Rock Video and Best Editing, Billboard Music Awards for Modern Rock Artist of the Year, and the Grammy Awards for Best Metal Performance. It didn't win any of those, but it did win the Kerrang Awards for Best International Live Act.
This is a messed up song. This is the first song I ever heard by System of a Down. This is spooky, dude. They do all kinds of crazy vocals. They do whispers. They do screams. It gets so thrashy. These are insane people. That was my first impression of them when I heard this must have been 4th grade, if we're talking about 2001, going all the way back to 9/11. Let's take him back to 9/11/01. Where were you?
Well, when 9/11 happened, I was certainly in middle school. We were both in middle school.
No, 4th grade.
Oh,
pretty sure.
4th grade?
Yeah, I was in 4th grade.
Oh, well, I was in
5th grade.
I was in 6th
Do you remember where you were?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, go.
I was in an English class.
Okay.
6th grade.
English clash.
Yeah, English clash. English. Oh my God, English. I was in class in 6th grade.
He was having an English class in the classroom.
Yeah, and my teacher got word from somebody that came in and said,
like,
"Hey,
word.
turn the TV on.
Turn on the telly."
Yeah.
Word.
And it was just, that was after the first plane hit. The rest of the day, actually going to different classes, but just sitting down and watching TV as a second plane hit. And, people were jumping out of buildings. It was terrible, obviously. That's something I won't ever forget.
And they just kept turning the TV on for you in different classrooms.
Yeah.
And allowing you to witness that live as children.
Well, I remember even the TV news at the time didn't realize that people were jumping out of buildings. So they started to zoom away from the towers as they noticed that's what some of the specks were falling out of the sky.
And the second plane happened live for a lot of people.
Yeah.
They were covering the first one, and then it's so wild. We had like parent-teacher conferences or something. I remember playing Pokemon cards with my sister, and we turned on, my dad like called us at home and told us to turn on the TV. We watched most of it live that day from the first plane hitting. After that, it was just nonstop TV coverage of 9/11. I mean, every channel, everything you heard.
Yeah, this was certainly a piece of that time, locked in that time.
Apparently, we were listening to this mostly after the fact. The album came out, a week before 9/11?
A week before, and the single Chop Suey came out a month before. So folks had just heard it, just seen the music video, and then
Saw it.
Start to get pulled off the airways.
What was your initial reaction to chop suey?
My initial reaction was my grandma makes some good chop suey. It's a good dish. That was my first thought.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't.
No, it wasn't. Did you hear it on the radio?
I remember seeing. I think I remember the music video.
Okay.
And I think I downloaded it before
So
hearing it anywhere else.
the video's wild. What was your first initial reaction to this? I mean,
I loved it, and I loved it as much as folks that first hear it today love it now. You can still see reaction videos from people that are just discovering System of a Down now and how wild they think it is. And it was just as wild back in 2001.
more wild.
Yeah, the great vocals, the crashing drums and guitars, and it's just a wild, wild song.
So you were hooked from the beginning.
I was hooked. The music video, of course, has a number of different fans in the audience. You do get kind of some trippy camera action. It's called a snorri cam. It's a harness attached that kind of gives the perception that like the background is moving and kind of the actors are changing people and that weird trippiness you get in there. So it's a special effect, special camera that those guys used.
Where they're morphing into the different band members.
Right. Yep.
It still hits. This song is utter classic. Is it about nothing? What do we got for lyrics? Is it about something?
The first verse, grab a brush and put a little makeup. One of the first lines that you ever hear.
Mm-hmm.
Could be talking about self-harm, covering yourself despite your insecurities. Why'd you leave the keys up on the table? Could reference not coming back home, not planning on coming back home. So could be...
You wanted to.
Yeah.
Why'd you do these things? You wanted to.
Could very much describe drug abuse. I cry when angels deserve to die. Moving along to,
Don't
to
we
heaven,
all?
hiding insecurities.
Uh-huh.
So another song that's very open to interpretation, but religious undertones, possible drugs, self-harm, similar themes that we've seen in System of a Down.
Definitely would not have played a song called Suicide on the radio.
No.
So did they just go for the nonsense title at that point? Probably. It is kind of a mishmash, as Chop Suey is. The song itself has several different sections, but all System of a Down songs do, so it's not really unique in that sense. They must have just gone for a random title when whoever, Warner Brothers, was like, we don't have a record called that, sorry.
Yeah,
like,
it could be.
Okay,
yeah.
Chop Suey then.
It must have specifically been kind of the suicide and the possible self-harm, which is kind of weird because you'd have to listen to it to know that, and some of the other songs seem to be banned specifically on title.
True.
So I don't know how they came to that list specifically.
They knew they were talking about politics and terrorism and war and just all of it. I can see them just outright banning all System of a Down. It's amazing that we've talked about it multiple times, but getting these kind of extreme messages across on mainstream radio has not happened since, or before, probably.
Yeah.
At least not since, some hippie thing in the 60s, maybe.
It was featured in 2008's Rock Band 2 video game.
The best of all the Rock Band video
The
games.
best out of the 20 of them.
Easily. It had Chop Suey in it, so that was the best one. Memorable Rock Band game. Did you like those? Never liked those.
That was never super good at them.
No.
You have to be good at something like it, I think.
I was playing real guitar at the time. It made me mad because there were a lot of kids who spent hundreds of hours on that and then thought they knew
How to play guitar.
anything about playing any instrument at all.
Right.
I was like, why don't you just join a band with me, play real guitar?
Yeah.
Some of them did. It got a lot of people into that music. I like it now. At the time, I thought it was ridiculous, but now I realize it kept a lot of that music alive for another generation where it wouldn't have been on anyone's radar. Like, there's stuff in there. There's Sonic Youth, Rage Against the Machine, all kinds of 60s music, 70s music that people remember. Like, oh, that's from Guitar Hero.
Yeah. Certainly opened the door for a lot of different genres.
Still play it at arcades. It's pretty decent at the arcade. That's pretty fun. Don't know about Chop Suey, though. That'd be difficult.
So you don't think a song like this would necessarily come out today?
The song would hit hard today. The drummer, as always, right in the pocket. Amazing. Bass player, as always, amazing. How many different vocal styles does Serge do on this song? Let's take a listen. We'll count together as an audience. Here we go. Chop Suey on Polymuse Radio. He sings like an opera singer, dude. He whispers, he screams, he does death metal vocals, and then he just sings like he's singing in church, or I don't even know how you get that many different performances on one track out of one vocalist. So the answer to my question is several.
Yeah, this is everything you want on a System of a Down song. Lyrically, vocally,
Religiously.
religiously. Druggly.
You got the acoustic instruments at the beginning and throughout, bringing that folk feel, the Armenian feel. Dude, the drummer in this band is terrific. Phenomenal. There's drum patterns in here that are they just slap. He's just snappy. It's like jungly, but he never misses the attack. He never gets sloppy with it. He never gets sludgy with it. He's the underrated hero of this band. You can never say enough good things about John Dalmayan. You were, giving him crap about...
I just want to know if he needs all the drums that he has in this music
Obviously, he needs them.
I'm not the drumming expert.
Does it look
here.
cool?
I'm just trying to figure out.
It looks cool. We're looking at it right now. It's fine.
It looks really
Does he
cool.
hit like half of them? Does he hit more than... Not really. He's got that like polka, like oompa. He probably doesn't need anything. Half the records he's just hitting the same. Play it though. This is an awesome video. Classic. We're recreating it live here for you. They're playing. It's just a mosh pit all around them. 360 mosh pit. You never forget this. They look like insane people.
You get Darren's crazy tattoos all over his body.
They're playing in like a Motel 6
That's
parking
exactly
lot.
what it looks like.
Looks terrible.
Like the courtyard.
Dude, these are wackos.
Reflecting back, if this was your first entry point to System of a Down,
that's what I'm saying.
You heard Chop Suey, you knew
You're
they
a child.
got banned, and so they're kind of forbidden. And you start digging around into their sound and who they are, and you're like, this is the perfect package of System of a Down and who they are and their embodiment.
They nailed it. Rick Rubin, thank you. Helped them nail it, I'm sure. It has a lot of different sections to the song, and I know he always helps bands kind of try to mold the different pieces together into different songs. The Chili Peppers talk about how they'll take the same 3 or 4 different progressions and rearrange it different ways with Rick Rubin, and like they'll find the song out of it. This song kind of feels like that, where you got several different chord progressions. It could have gone several different ways, and it's just arranged so perfectly. They obviously went that extra mile and knew it was going to be a radio hit and knew it was going to be like a timeless piece of music, and they polished it up enough for that. And I'm sure it was all 4 of them. It was Darren, it was Serge, but Rick Rubin, I'm sure this is one he gave him the extra juice on it.
Even without the special camera, this still would have been an iconic music video. And a lot of their other ones aren't too fancy. We usually have different footage and stuff spliced in, but they're still very memorable with fairly simplistic footage.
They did a lot with not a lot. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, basically.
Okay. There's no real effects or anything. They morph into each other, which I'm sure at the time looked even cooler. These kids like don't do anything bad. They don't break the set or anything. They just kind of listen to the song. Could have been weirder. It's a great song though. It's an S tier song, easily. Right? Double.
I don't think that's any debate on that.
Took it away from you a little bit, but
that's fine.
I kind of predicted.
Yeah, we're both S's on this.
It has to be on the mixtape. It's their most famous song, but it deserves to be their most famous song. Not always the case with bands, but when you get a band that's so alternative like this, when they're able to distill their sound down into just a perfectly arranged piece of music, like you could hear this same song played as like a classical piece of music. You could hear just the arrangement of Chop Suey, and I'm sure it's been done. Like I'm sure there's YouTube or whatever out there where they've taken like a string quartet or something. It's that good of a piece of music, like just the notes by themselves, not even how they played it or how they performed it or the way they made the record. It's just a timeless melody, timeless harmony, and it just flows. Every piece of it, your ear anticipates it. It's perfectly written. You can't do as good as that without, it's the extra mile. It's that S tier. That's what I'm saying. They earned it.
There are some fun mixes out there. We had the lo-fi mix we found and drill beat, some different stuff we found. So no matter what you do with it, it's an iconic piece and fun to see the different mixes we have now. Even people rediscovering it, like I said. Awesome, S tier. Every piece is very much what you expect from a System of a Down song. This is the S of S's.
Oh, the S plus?
The S plus.
The S plus, huh?
Yeah.
So we haven't talked about sequencing the mixtape. Are you going chronological? Are you going a certain way about it or what?
I am going to figure out how exactly I'm going to arrange it. I haven't quite decided that yet.
How many have you used so far? How many S ranks? Several. We're about halfway through the discography. 3 more albums. I know I've used several more than Michael has here.
Yes. Your S's are Sugar, Suggestions, War, Snowblind,
right,
Shame,
yep,
The Metro,
yep,
Prison Song,
okay,
and Chop Suey.
So there you go, ladies and gentlemen.
Mine are Sweet Pea, Sugar, Prison Song, and Chop Suey to catch us up. So we've got some more System of a Down coming up next time. This is obviously the top song, so really it's all downhill from here.
Wow, calling it now. Top song? We got BYOB.
We do have BYOB. But we'll be covering Bounce next time.
Bounce.
As we continue.
The new metal bounce.
The new metal bounce.
As we say on the Poly Music Experience.
As we say all the time.
I said it on the Hybrid Theory like 10 times.
Yeah, you did.
Go back and listen. Episode 1, Season 1. I say bounce like that in reference to new metal. It's not even new metal, though. We could quickly touch on this quickly. The fact that System of a Down is often considered new metal, but they're not. And as we always say, they're more influenced by the folk music of Armenia as opposed to kind of the rap, funk, metal, sludge of bands like Korn or Limp Bizkit. These other bands that are considered new metal that didn't have quite as refined of a palette of influences. Certainly not the same level of songwriting most of the time. System of a Down's more alternative metal, not even a new. They were at the era of new metal, and it was new, and it was metal.
They're certainly different than Slayer, who they were touring with.
Certainly different than Slayer.
And Korn, who was out at the time.
Not the same. And not the same as Limp Bizkit or any of these.
Deftones, yeah.
Even Linkin Park isn't really. Well, they like codified new metal and then immediately abandoned it. Check out season 1 of the Poly Music Experience for more Linkin Park talk. Do we have social media?
We do have social media.
Should they listen? Should they subscribe to it?
They should subscribe to it. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, where we will be in your faces, not just your ears. Talk to you next time.
Okay.